Let's start our dialogue. Mr. Sebastian Thrun, the first question, we know that the number one hot topic in Silicon Valley now is generative AI. I think maybe in 10 years ago, we call AI, and now we call AI are totally different. And in your speech, you mentioned ChatGPT is like a black swan event. So why? Why it's a black swan event? And you are a brilliant expert in AI with tons of experiences. So in your view, what are respective advantages of Google's Bird and OpenAI's ChatGPT or other GPT products?
Yeah. I called AI a black swan event for two reasons. One is I believe it's really going to change the way industry works, in that we will make people much more efficient and also really improve the type of services and products companies can build for customers in a way never seen before. That to me is a redefinition of business. But I also call it black swan because of technology. Before OpenAI launched GPT-3, I believe most of us in artificial intelligence would have said AI can do one job really well when it's trained to perform this one job. So for example, an AI trained to drive a car could drive a car, but not play chess. An AI to detect skin cancer could detect skin cancer, but not drive a car. And that was true until about 2 years ago. That all changed when OpenAI introduced GPT, and especially ChatGPT. GPT is interesting. It's become one of the world's best software engineers. It also speaks 90 languages. But the developers of GPT never trained it to become a translator or a software engineers. In fact, late night at some point, the CTO of the company, Mira Murati, discovered that GPT was able to speak Italian. She didn't know this. There was a case where an AI system had been trained to do one thing, which is word completion, sentence completion on language documents, but all of a sudden was able to do something completely else, like assisting software engineers to write good code. That led to the thought that large language models are the very first big step towards artificial general intelligence. People can do many things, many tasks, and now machines will also be able to do many tasks. That to me is truly a black swan event.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And in person, what do you like better, the ChatGPT or Google's Bird? On your Bing.
Yeah. I think there's obviously a race going on between different large language models. The most common one is OpenAI versus Bard. But just a few days ago, Elon Musk's company XAI launched its very first chatbot, and it performed very, very well, to be honest. To me, this is just the beginning of the race. Speaking in gaming terms, if the world is a soccer match which lasts 90 minutes, we've just seen the very first 5 minutes. Obviously, ChatGPT was the first to impress the world, and we all remember those moments. We first typed a sentence and got a full-blown answer. Bard, in my opinion, is equally good. It's more focused on also providing sources, but that's just the beginning. I think in 2 years' time, these models will look completely different, be much, much more capable.
Mm-hmm. We know that it is reported that Apple plans to replace Google with Microsoft's new Bing or other AI search engines. So do you think new Bing is in a position to threaten the dominance of Google in search business?
I believe that Google is doing a great job innovating in the space of AI. And we'll see. Obviously, Microsoft has claimed that there will be a new day in search, hoping that OpenAI can alter the way search works. I've seen Apple getting into that space as well. It's going to be an interesting race going on to see who's going to win. I don't know, to be honest. Generally, personally, I'm a big fan of Google. I built Google Brain. I hope Google succeeds. And I also believe for search is more than just the interface. It's also the ecosystem of advertisers and companies that come to you in search. And I think Google has a very strong position going forward.
Okay, then let's talk about the autonomous. So, the next question is about your another experience in self-driving. So, what do you think will AGI will change the self-driving? Do you think that generative AI big models will enable self-driving technologies to advance by leaps and bounds?
Using large language models for self-driving is interesting, and I think has mixed results so far. The problem in general is that the cost of failures is very, very high. If as a large language models, you get a search question for which you have no answer, it's no big deal. But if as a car, you see a scene and you don't know what to do, you might actually kill somebody. So far, the methods that use a combination of large language model equivalent, machine learning, and good geometric reasonings are the safest methods in self-driving cars. But I should say that even Waymo is now extensively using machine learning to train its self-driving cars and uses machine learning-based object recognition to identify objects in the real world. And so do pretty much all self-driving car companies today, including Diddy's amazing team on self-driving cars. So that's progressing. I don't think at this moment it's safe to use only machine learning for self-driving cars. As a sequence of recent Tesla accidents shows, very, very rare situations, such as a big truck parked diagonally across the highway, still occur. And sometimes the machine learning systems are not good enough to recognize these incredibly rare but still lethal situations.
You mentioned Waymo, but we know that Waymo had worked on autonomous driving for over 10 years. And do you think their driverless car will be put in wide use eventually? And what prevents Google from applying the technology more widely? We know that you left Waymo in 2013. Now 10 years have passed. What do you think of the development of self-driving technologies in the past decades? Was it below, above your expectations, or totally as you expected?
I'd say Waymo today now is at a level of safety that equals or surpasses human driving. And in San Francisco, you can for a while now, you can get a Waymo using your phone and being driven around. It's a magical experience. And Waymo is not the only ones. Cruises provide services like this. Pony AI and many others have built commercial systems where people can use these cars safely today. That to me is an amazing accomplishment. It did take a little longer than I expected. It took about 10 years. I would have expected it to be 5 years. But the truth is, it's worth the wait, because once we have self-driving cars, we have a much, much better traffic system. It's much safer and much more economical. I believe the technology will be rolled out worldwide sometime soon. The biggest obstacle is not safety anymore, it's cost. It's building a cost-efficient system that rivals or surpasses, undercuts the cost of human-based transportation, such as taxis, Uber, and Didi. And that goal will be achieved in the next few years, and then it will be a worldwide rollout.
In 2017, you said that autonomous driving will overtake human driving by 2050. Is there a need to modify your previous judgment? What are key factors during the transition from human driving to autonomous driving?
I might have been wrong in the year, but I think I've been right at the general prediction that's going to happen. And the reason is in the United States, a human driver is about 2/3 of the cost of an Uber or of a taxi. The car itself, the insurance and all that stuff, taxes are about 1/3 of the cost. Unfortunately, car-based transportation or transportation in general is the second biggest expense of the US household. Americans spend roughly $10,000 a year on transportation. If you can cut this down to $5,000, it'll be a massive improvement of people's conditions. And it also helps cities to be less congested with parked cars. So I believe it's happening right now. It might have been a little bit late, but it's definitely happening.
Okay, so at Google, when you were in Google, you used a laser radar, cameras, and other sensors to navigate. However, at Tesla and some Chinese auto companies, pure vision is applied. So how do you compare the two approaches? Do you think it is feasible now to use pure vision technologies for complex city laws from the perspective of technology?
This has been discussed a lot. And as of today, in 2023, I'm confident to say that a hybrid approach using cameras and radars and lidars is superior to a camera-only approach. And I draw this argument from just observing what happened in the world. The vast majority of self-driving car teams are happily using lidar. Lidar has become very inexpensive, very affordable, and so has radar. A small number of companies, led by Tesla, have only used cameras. And just looking at the statistics today to understand when drivers take out their eyes off the road, how safe are they? I don't think that vision-based systems are safe enough today to take your eyes entirely off the road, whereas LiDAR hybrid systems are safe enough today. So if you want to start a self-driving car company today, please pay the extra money to get a radar, to get a LiDAR, to make your car as safe as humanly possible. Now, going forward, it's clear to me that at some point vision will be sufficient. People can drive cars just using their eyesight, so eventually cameras will be sufficient. However, lasers have become so cheap that cameras might not be the method of choice going forward. If you have a choice to make the car less expensive or safer, I would always take the safer version over the less expensive one.
As you mentioned, I also believe that safety is the biggest challenge. So what do you think of the current safety standard for the autonomous driving and the possible changes in the future? The safety standard.
I believe that we're going to look at 2023 as a year when like the research moved into early products. And early products today are safe enough. Waymo is still driving our neighborhood, but they're not economical. They don't meet the economical goals that we have to meet to make this technology more affordable than, for example, Didi and Uber. That's going to take another few years. But when that happens, I believe that the technology, the basic concept will be rolled out worldwide in all cities to provide new like robotic taxi services that are more safe and also more economical for people to use than today's cars.
Both, especially in China, I think. Also, I think in America is the same, that both technology companies and the new energy automakers are working on autonomous driving. In your view, what to say that in which type of firms, the technology companies or the traditional automakers or the new energy automakers, what kind of the type of firms do you think is a breakthrough more likely to take place?
I have incredibly high hopes towards Chinese automotive companies and also Chinese ride-hailing companies like Didi. I find there's incredible advances in the last 3 years in China when it comes to electric vehicles, thanks to the visionary leadership of a number of entrepreneurs and companies. And I would not be surprised if to see the same level of innovation for self-driving cars. I'm also incredibly impressed with Baidu and Didi and Pony to have built an incredible technology base to make this possible. So if I ask myself in which geography will this succeed first, possibly in China, because China is really willing to move fast beyond past beliefs. It's been painful to me to see how slow the automotive industry has been, how much the automotive industry still sticks to traditional ways of making cars and selling cars. And that's because the entire ecosystem in the automotive sector is centered around the human driver and the human driver purchasing a car and feeling great about the car they purchase and own. That shift, I think, requires innovative, novel entities. And at this moment, I see China at the absolute forefront of this innovation, to be honest. Absolutely, yes. In the US, we have a number of forward-looking companies. Most important, of course, Tesla as the most valuable automotive company on the planet. But also GM has stuck out its neck with the acquisition of Cruise and building driverless cars. There is a big question, what's going to happen to the automotive industry when we only buy half as many cars or a third of the number of cars today, because cars are utilized much better using self-driving robotic technology. And that's something that's going to change entire economies, especially in Germany, where I'm from, where the car is such an important part of the German economy, and Japan, which also has cars as an important aspect of their economy.
And expect the self-driving, another kind of technology of driving also are in development, that is flying cars. In both America and China, some companies are still exploring the technology of flying cars. How do you compare their R&D approaches in these two countries?
Flying cars is today where self-driving cars were 10 years ago. Flying cars have just entered the research field. Very, very first prototypes have been built and shown to work, but there's a huge number of unanswered questions. Just to explain to people what flying cars really are, they're not really cars. They're more like drones. They're electrically powered vehicles that can take off vertically like a helicopter, but then fly more like an aircraft. The best of those flying cars have been able to fly roughly 200 kilometers, which is significant on a single battery charge. But none of them have been certified to fly legally as aircraft in the current airspace. There's a huge number of open questions, like where should they land and take off, how they should be used, how they're being serviced, how can you make batteries that can last long enough to make this mode of transportation affordable. But as progress continues, I would bet in 10 years' time, you're going to sit here and talk more about flying cars and self-driving cars.
As we know that after your departure from Google, you joined Kitty Hawk as CEO. Why did you choose to join it that time? And this company, we know that it was shut down last September. What were considerations for their closure? And from your onboarding to departure, did your views of flying cars change? So in your retrospect, were there any surprise or joys? Did you have any moments of regrets or failures?
I'm very proud of the work we did at Kitty Hawk. We built a huge number of prototypes, over 100, and flew them very successfully. We built more prototypes than all other companies combined in that space. And we flew further and better than most other players. We did not entirely shut down. We actually sold the core of Kitty Hawk to Boeing, where it's now known as a company called Whisk, and making great progress on the same technology, specifically towards autonomous cars that could fly themselves, which I consider to be key for the future of aviation. If I have one regret, it is that in the United States, to get approved by the FAA is a lengthy process. It is justifiably lengthy because These are public safety issues. Being able to fly over your house and not fall and kill your children is important. But at the same time, it makes it hard to get the speed of innovation we see in Silicon Valley combined with the US government and the Federal Aviation Authority, FAA. So that's probably something maybe China can do a better job. China has much less what's called general aviation, small little Cessnas and helicopters that private citizens fly. It's very common here in the United States. China has much more military airspace. And I think China, if it plays its cards really well, could become a leader in this nascent new field.
I think how to ask this question is from, how to say, from the self-driving on the ground to flying cars in the air. What is your view of future human transportation? Would you please forecast drivers driving in the next 5 years or 10 years?
I think there's a number of interesting innovations, including the fact that I'm here calling you from California, but I'm giving a presentation in Beijing at the Tree Conference, which is, I think, amazing. That is not exactly conventional transportation, but in the past, I would have picked up my luggage, went to the airport, flew over to China, give my presentation and fly back. Now I can do this on the button click, thanks to Zoom and many other online video systems. So to me, for human interaction, the internet has already bridged the gap for many types of interaction. And business travel has actually become less important in my life than it used to be. For transporting goods, I believe the air will win. I think the air is not just safer, it's faster, and it's also more economical, it's cheaper. Going through the air on a straight line tends to use less energy than transporting the same object on the ground. That is surprising, but it's true. When you work out the math, if you go through the air, you pay a small penalty to stay in the air. It's called lift. But you get a huge gain by being able to go in a straight line in a single modality from point A to point B. So to me, the future of transportation will be airborne. And that's a big deal. If you look at the car as a major mode of transportation, the car arrived 130 years ago. It's not that long ago. Before that, we were all on horses or we would walk with our feet. And now all of us have cars. Going forward, it's completely imaginable that 20, 30, 40 years from now, all transportation will be through the air. And it'll be a complete change situation.
Okay. Another question about back to their AI. It seems hard to see new innovative products emerge like iPhone and Google Glass once did. I think from Silicon Valley to China, it's the same situation now. So what do you think of the future trend of technological innovation? Is any real innovation dead in today's environment?
I believe innovation is more active than ever before. If you look at the history of invention and graph it over the centuries, humanity is 300,000 years old, but everything of meaning, from your car to your cell phone, even your light switch and your flushing toilet, that's only 150 years old. Almost everything of importance has been invented in the last 150 years. And even more so, the last 10 years have been much more impactful than the 10 years before. We're in the middle of an exponential singularity when it comes to inventing new things. Entrepreneurship, invention, innovation is more alive than ever before. And if you remember my speech on artificial intelligence, what it's going to do, it's going to make us much faster, more effective. What used to take a year might just only take a few days. Just imagine you could invent a self-driving car in a week as opposed to 10 years. Or invent Udacity, my education company, in a week as opposed to 10 years. And you get to try so many more new things and see if they work. I can't imagine how the world will look like with a new young set of great new innovators in this new age of technology. It'd be so much faster and so much better.
So how about Google Glass? You know that Apple is doing Apple Glass and Google has Google Glass, and many people will say that the glass will be the next generation of computing platform like iPhone. Do you also think about it, or do you agree?
Yeah, at Google, I had a chance to build Google Glass. That was actually my project. And I was really excited about it because it felt like inventing the next generation of interactive technology past the iPhone. Google Glass did not live up to it. But what we did build is a system that put your sensors, your camera and your microphone and your speaker right next to your sensors. So the system could experience what you're experiencing. And in real time, you could share your experiences with a much broader set of people. That was demonstrated. And while Google Glass didn't succeed, I'm excited to see Apple and other companies now jumping into the marketplace with a new generation of products with much improved display technology. And I hope that these technologies can really transform the world. If they can, and they will seamlessly blend the virtual world and the physical world. That will bring the people we care about so much closer to us at any point in time. The information we need to do our work, our colleagues, our family, the objects we want to manipulate in the physical world, the experiences we want to have as we go on vacation, they'll all be on our fingertips. That world will be so different from the world we've seen before that I really can't wait.
If you have a chance to go back to 20 years ago to restart your life, which field would you choose now to start your own company? Which field? Yeah.
I believe that the choice I made like 30 years ago when I started my career to go into machine learning, artificial intelligence was the right choice. Little did I know it was too early. I think the early work on artificial intelligence just didn't deliver on its promises the way it does today. So if I was young today, I would say, yes, go into artificial intelligence. It's the hottest and best field out there. But specifically also ask yourself, what are those applications that will change the world? And it's not AI per se. It's not the fact that you can ask a question and get an answer that will change the world. It's those many, many applications where AI will infiltrate other fields. For example, pharmaceutical design. Once you have AI in a pharma company, you might be able to replace a 500 million US dollar approval process for a new medicine by a $500 approval process. It costs just a small fraction that allow you to generate new medicine so much faster that you can really invent personalized precision medicine and make a medication for every person that's tailored to them with AI. If you bring AI into other fields, such as law, you can give every person a competent lawyer, accounting, so many fields in which AI can make a massive difference. If you just take an AI perspective, you go to any field in the world right now, including politics and poetry, and make a massive difference.
Thank you so much. It's very interesting. Because of the time limit, we'll have the last question to also have a conclusion, I think. And today we talked about many technologies, innovations, and we also talk about many fields that will change. So in the next decades, or to say next 10 years, what kind of the technologies do you think will impact our lives most? What field do you think will change most?
This is always the hardest of all questions. It's very, very hard to foresee the future. I do believe, in theory, Meta, with its focus on the metaverse, is actually correct, even though today the delivery has been underperforming. I do believe with Mark Zuckerberg, there will be a seamless blend between virtual world and physical worlds. The technology isn't quite there yet, and I'm very optimistic to receive the Apple Vision Pro to see if we've made enough progress that this promise will eventually be met. Obviously, I'm a big fan of artificial intelligence. I believe that this will be a massive difference in terms of our ability to make life more efficient, but also invent new products and services. And beyond this, I think there'll be some interesting things that we won't expect. There'll be innovation in transportation, in medicine, in many fields of human interaction, in farming, in logistics, in many other fields that'll be fundamentally altering the costs of basic goods. And as we change the costs of basic goods, they become more available, including my very close topic of education, where I see education future, that we can reach many more people and give much higher quality education, and thereby unleashing an entire segment of the world population that presently is not on the table when it comes to technology, but will be in the future.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And we are looking forward to the changes and looking forward to all the innovations will happen.